I have received many topic suggestions for this relatively new channel, but the number one thing I have been asked to talk about since the beginning is the Amazing Digital Circus. And I'm going to be honest, I put this video off for a very long time, thinking it was just like any other fun, wholesome, and probably overrated and overhyped cartoon. But after observing so much endless discourse on this platform in the last month regarding this show, I finally decided to buckle down and watch it for myself. And now I understand. There is so much more to this series than what appears on the immediate surface, and by the end of it, I was glad that I had watched it, but I was also equally very perplexed. So I went headfirst down the rabbit hole of Amazing Digital Circus discourse and have decided to break away from the polarizing love it or hate it mentality and instead deliver a video giving an objective examination of this show. Not just breaking down the plot episode by episode, but also the overwhelming response to the series. The good, the bad, and the ugly of the Amazing Digital Circus. Why people love it and why people hate it. Hi there, I'm Rybear and welcome back to my channel. Here on this channel we focus on making fun and mostly wholesome content about anything and everything. Things like music, anime, TV shows, toys and collectibles, popular licenses and characters, and so much more. So if that's the sort of thing you are into, please be sure to subscribe. I make new videos every single week on this channel, and I base all of my videos on popular requests from viewers like with this video. So feel free to leave topic suggestions below in the comments alongside what will probably be incredibly intense discourse and arguing, since this particular topic has a lot of moving parts. And I won't waste any more time. Let's talk about the Amazing Digital Circus objectively. Quick note before we get started, all of the sources I used for this video will be linked in the description box below, like I do for all of my videos on this channel. Everything I'm about to state is backed up by a provided source, and you can go through them all and see all of the research I did. The Amazing Digital Circus is a psychological thriller / horror and dark comedy animation web series created by the creator Gooseworx and the company Glitch Productions. The series began on YouTube in October of 2023, with the last episode airing about 2 months ago now, and is a 9-episode animation series in total. The series follows a set of characters who become trapped in a virtual reality and are forced to embark on adventures, and are subject to trauma and chaos as they navigate the reality and try to escape. It contains themes of friendship, dread, isolation, confinement, fear, mental illness and insanity, hope, and more, and is aimed at teens and young adults, but it is enjoyed by both children and adults alike. Glitch Productions was founded in 2017 by brothers Kevin and Luke Lerdwichigal in Sydney, Australia, who had one goal in mind: to change the way the West creates teen and young adult animation. The company has 7 other animation series aside from the Amazing Digital Circus, including Murder Drones, The Gaslight District, Knights of Guinevere, Game Overs, Lackadaisy, Meta Runner, and Sunset Paradise, but the Amazing Digital Circus is undeniably their most popular work. Glitch Productions is fully self-funded and independent, and they have grown massively with millions of fans globally. The creator of the series, Gooseworx, who is referred to just as Goose by fans, is an American YouTuber, musician, cartoonist, animator, and webcomic designer, who worked on the music for the popular series The Has-Been Hotel. According to the Amazing Digital Circus fandom wiki for Gooseworx, Gooseworx is a transgender woman who had been open about her experiences. She's also on the autism spectrum. She maintains a relatively private personal life outside of her creative work, though she occasionally shares glimpses into her process and thoughts with fans. Despite all of the success she's gained, she states she doesn't like it. She has also confirmed that, while there will be most likely more merch and short videos for the Amazing Digital Circus, she won't be directing them, though she trusts the person who's writing them. As of now, she is done with the Amazing Digital Circus and is on to her new show, Groundskeeper. She already has a pretty solid outline for it, according to her. Goose also desires to make weirder stuff again. Gooseworx was recruited by Glitch, and she pitched the idea of the Amazing Digital Circus, which was originally pitched as a 2D series, but Glitch didn't have the resources to make it at that time, and did it in rendered 3D instead. And upon airing, the pilot became the most viewed animation pilot on YouTube, with over 456 million views to date, the series amassing hundreds of millions of views per episode on YouTube, and in 2024 was added to Netflix and is streaming on there as well. To say it is a massive success is an understatement, but despite this, the series does have its detractors, critics, and outright haters, and following the recent airing of the finale, many people and creators have come online to share their controversial opinions and criticisms of the series, leading to endless discourse online. Now that we have some background on the Amazing Digital Circus, Glitch Productions, and Gooseworx, let's now get into the plot of the series before we dive into the discourse and the criticism surrounding it online. We begin with episode 1. Welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus. We are introduced to the ringmaster, Kane, and his sidekick, Bubble, who is a bubble. Then we meet all our circus members, Gangle, Zooble, Kinger, Ragatha, Jax, and Kaufmo, and our newest member, who is clearly very confused and scared and doesn't know why she is there. The new member asks what is going on, and another member reassures her that everything is going to be okay, and that they've all been through this before. When the new member asks how she can leave, the other members inform her that she can't. In fact, none of them can, and this is her new home and her new body. Kane decides to give the new member, as well as the viewer, a tour of the circus grounds, including the living quarters, a place for fun activities like ball pits and mini golf, the grounds, the digital lake you can drown yourself in, the digital carnival, the buffet, and the void. Except they don't venture out into the void, and even Kane doesn't know what's out there. The new member then says she saw an exit sign and asks if it's a way to leave, to which the other members tell her if there was truly a way out, they would have found it by now. The ringmaster, Kane, insists they were just seeing digital hallucinations, and then changes the subject by asking the new member her name. Except she can't remember. It turns out that no one can remember their name once they enter the digital circus. So Kane says he can help come up with a new name for them, followed by a giant disclaimer rant, and they agree on the name Pomni. So now it's Kane, his sidekick Bubble, and the members, Gangle, Zooble, Kinger, Ragatha, Jax, Kaufmo, and Pomni. Kane then states he wants to host an adventure for the new member, a simple in-house adventure. Gather the Gloinks. We'll soon learn that these adventures are frequent, nearly every day, and this is the main purpose these circus members serve, is to go on these extravagant, often dangerous, and terrifying adventures. In this adventure, the entire circus is infested with gloinks, small mischievous creatures that steal anything and everything they run into, and the members are tasked with finding out why, and also figuring out how to stop them. These gloinks take one of the members hostage, Zooble, so now they have to save her. But also, the members want to check on Kaufmo and introduce him to the newbie, but Kinger states that he thinks Kaufmo might have gone insane, that he was rambling about some mysterious exit, which gets the attention of Pomni, who had claimed she also saw an exit earlier. So some of the members split up to go check on Kaufmo, Jax, Ragatha, and Pomni, while the others stay there to deal with Zooble. Ragatha begins to tell Pomni a little bit about their way of life in the circus, and also tells her that they've tried to leave, but slowly they've realized that they can't, and that you start to lose sight of who you are and why you're even alive. And when you reach your breaking point, something really terrible can happen. They go to Kaufmo's room, but he doesn't answer the door. But Jax has a key, and he opens the door to find writing all over the walls about an exit, and that Kaufmo has abstracted and has become this giant black abstract creature with colorful eyes. Pomni asked what that means, and Ragatha explains it's that thing she mentioned earlier when you reach your breaking point, aka what happens when you go insane in the digital circus. Kaufmo, as his abstracted self, begins slamming Ragatha around, but before this, she tells Pomni that they might be able to fix it if they can find Kane. Ragatha asks Pomni for help as she is starting to glitch, but Pomni runs away, and Kaufmo chases her, but Pomni does escape. Meanwhile, the other characters are watching everything from a black hole, and Jax comes over. They ask how Kaufmo is doing, and Jax lies and says he's doing great. Eventually, they all fall into the black hole that has a slide that leads them to another area where they encounter some kind of colorful creature, which they think is a nest for the Gloinks. But back to Pomni, she is now trying to help Ragatha and apologizes for leaving her behind. Ragatha forgives her and tells Pomni she needs to find Cain so he can fix her and Kaufmo. So Pomni leaves to find Cain and begins to look around, but she cannot find him, and instead finds a bunch of mysterious rooms with weird things harbored inside, and Kaufmo comes back. We then transition back to the other characters and the nest. We find out it's the nest of the glowing queen, and Jax tells the queen off. The nest swallows Zubul, and then we transition back to Pomni, who is running from Kaufmo. We get a scene where Pomni stares at herself in a mirror and is perplexed by what she sees, but begins running away again and is able to distract Kaufmo for a moment while she continues her search for Cain. And she finds the exit door she saw before and goes inside. She finds a normal-looking waiting room or break room which has another exit door, and she keeps entering through the exit doors, but they all just lead to weird empty rooms. These rooms actually are important, but we don't know that yet or their significance. Transitioning back to the Glowing Queen nest, the Glowing Queen ends up being attacked by Kaufmo, and then it releases Zubul and Kaufmo begins fighting the Glowing Queen. They are all figuring out how they are going to escape, and then they see an escalator and all go for it, obviously except for Kaufmo.
Guys, over there. Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
Pomni, meanwhile, is still running through all the exit doors trying to escape, which are leading to nowhere, and she begins to panic. She gets to a hallway that keeps extending and ends up in the void that Cain mentioned earlier. We then transition to a restaurant where Cain and Bubble are having dinner, but he is alerted that someone has ventured into the void, so he goes and retrieves Pomni from the void. Pomni is stunned and silent, and the other members alert Cain that Kaufmo has abstracted, and Cain banishes Kaufmo to the cellar. The other characters are shocked that Kaufmo abstracted, as they thought Kinger would be the first since he seemed weaker than the others. But spoiler alert, he is not weaker than the others. Cain returns Ragatha back to normal, and Pomni snaps out of her trance. Cain apologizes for lying about the exit and says he knows how much they wanted there to be one, but he had trouble figuring out what to put on the other side, and never ended up finishing it, as he doesn't like people seeing his unfinished work. They defeated the Glowing Queen and are awarded a digital feast, and we see Pomni is beginning to lose her mind a bit. And that is the end of the first episode. The second episode begins with everyone yelling Pomni's name, and we see that Pomni is having a nightmare about herself abstracting, and she awakes in her room screaming. Ragatha comes in to check on her and informs her that Cain has a new adventure for them. The adventure is Candy Carrier Chaos. The Candy Canyon Kingdom's been robbed of their most valuable resource, maple syrup, and Cain says he is testing out a new AI in this one. It should be 57 times more immersive. Zubul does not want to participate, and Pomni asks if their entire existence is just LARPing. Cain interjects and sends them all to Candy Kingdom. There are tons of colorful figures that resemble those wooden posable figures people use to draw portraits, which we'll later find out are NPCs. And there is also a giant elephant with a carriage. It seems like a parade. The princess of the kingdom walks out, and she tasks the members with finding the people who stole the maple syrup from their kingdom, and gives them a war rig to help them. They all head for the rig and leave for their mission, and then we transition to these metallic alligator-looking creatures saying how this much maple syrup would save hundreds of people. I think we have found the culprits. One of them is asking another if he thinks his mom is going to pull through if they get all the syrup back to the village. And the one with the binoculars says they won't know for sure until they get back to the village, but that she's a fighter and taught him everything he knows. He then sees the rig coming for them with the members on it, so they get in their own rig and drive off. And there's a long scene of the two rigs and groups fighting each other until they eventually crash into each other. And the members and their rig fall off a cliff into a chocolate pond. pond, while the other rig just crashes, but one of the alligators falls into some kind of blue void alone. The gator walks around trying to find anyone. He finds creepy statue versions of himself and the princess and other members of the Candy Kingdom. The figures are not moving or talking. He is just staring at the figure of himself, and then Pomni shows up. The alligator begins having a breakdown, asking why Pomni and her crew aren't in the statues, and she tells him she thinks it's because they're not NPCs.
Where are we? What's all this?
I don't know. We're somewhere under the map, I think.
Map? Why aren't you or any of your crew up here?
I'm not sure. Because we are not NPCs?
And the alligator begins questioning his entire existence and tells Pomni to tell him exactly what he is. But before she can, we transition back to the chocolate lake and the other members, who meet a monster named Fudge, and that they used to live in the kingdom walls, but the princess banished him after he ate too many of the delicious townfolk. Jack says they need the monster to help them bring the bandits to justice, and just at that moment the other rig with the bandits fall into the lake. But then it transitions back to Pomni and the one alligator who is still questioning his entire existence, and he is becoming more emotional in doing so. He says he is nothing and doesn't matter in the slightest. His life and memories are all fake. Pomni says she knows the feeling, not the exact feeling, but feeling like you're nothing is kind of normal, and asks him if he still cares about his buddies and that they still care about him. The alligator asked what they are without them, the members, that they are just obstacles to be defeated and then forgotten. And Pomni says he doesn't have to be. She says she came from another place, but that if the circus has to be their home, maybe it can be his home too.
Why are you trying to cheer me up? How does this benefit you at all?
I guess I just don't want you to feel like you're nothing. I don't want anybody to feel like that.
But I'm not even a real person. Would I even belong?
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me. And I could use a friend.
A friend?
We find out that the alligator's name is Gummy Goo, and him and Pomni try to figure out how they are going to get out of there. Back to the chocolate lake and the fudge monster, eventually Pomni and Gummy Goo show up, and Pomni introduces the others to Gummy Goo and says he is going to come back to the circus with them. And they do all finally make it back. Only when they do, Kane is there to greet them, and upon seeing Gummy Goo, he immediately turns him into confetti and makes him disappear. Pomni is confused and freaked out. Kane says he knows that they love their NPCs, but if he starts losing track of who is human and who is an NPC, who knows what could happen. This starts to make Pomni distraught, who begins laughing maniacally. Ragatha apologizes to Pomni for what Kane did, and the episode ends with them having a funeral service for Kaufmo, which they do to remember those who have abstracted, and everyone is there except for Jax. There are reasons for this, but we don't find them out quite yet. And that is the end of the second episode. The third episode begins with all the members holding their breath, as apparently, according to Jax, something different happens to each one of the characters when they try to hold their breath. These scenes of the characters doing things like this display how they are all beginning to bond, and Pomni is beginning to adjust to the members and the way of life in the circus. Kane appears to tell them what their adventure for that day is, which is the mystery of Mildenhall Manor, rumored to be filled to the brim with paranormal activity, and it's up to them to solve the mystery and catch all the goulash ghost activity that they can. And for the first time ever, they can, but in this moment, Kane realizes that Zubul is missing. Kane then sends them in the portal to the manor, where they are greeted by a ghost named Ghostly. Pomni is not a fan of horror and says she doesn't handle jump scares well, and then Jax jump scares her. Ghostly says before they can continue their adventure, they have to choose which door they are going to go through. The door on the left is the normal door, the door on the right is the really scary door, and Jax vacuums Ghostly. They try to decide what door they are going to go through. And it is then that Jax throws one of Pomni's eyes at one of the doors that turns into a giant monster's mouth. And Kinger goes to retrieve the eye, and they both end up going through the scary door.
Which door should we choose?
Not sure. Let's try this out.
Don't worry, Gangle, I'll get it for you.
Then we transition back to the circus, where Kane is trying to get Zubul to come out, and decides to do a therapy session with her. Zubul explains she already told him why she is upset, but that Kane never listens and only cares about the adventures. We then transition back to Pomni and Kinger, who are in a room with faces mounted to the walls that resemble themselves. They then uncover a tape recording from Baron Theodore Mildenhall, who explains he has been trying to protect his family from an awful demon-like creature. The two eventually encounter this creature, who is terrifying, I might add, and so they run to an elevator to escape. Kinger for a moment is mesmerized by the creature, and before it can swallow him, Pomni is able to unlock the elevator and the two escape. And they think they are going up, but instead they are going down. Transitioning back to Zubul and Kane, they are still having their therapy session, and Zubul begins opening up about how she doesn't like herself. She hates her body, she hates all the stupid removable pieces. She just wants to find something that feels good.
It's me, remember? I don't like myself. I hate this body. I hate all these stupid removable pieces. I just want to find something that feels good.
Kane doesn't really take this seriously, saying that problem was already solved, and then tries to change the subject back to the adventures. This leads to Zubul getting upset, saying no one likes his adventures, and Kane has difficulty coping with this and begins to glitch. Transitioning back to Pomni and Kinger, the elevator has fallen down and broken, and they find another tape that explains things had gotten worse with the creature, and they find a dead body with a gun. Kinger suggests they take the gun, and Pomni reluctantly does so, and a monster comes for them both, so Kinger shoots both the body and the head with the shotgun. And then the tape starts playing again, where they find out that the creature was actually one of God's angels, and anyone who brings harm to it will be dragged down to hell, which is where Pomni and Kinger go. Pomni begins freaking out, and this is the first we see of Kinger actually being rational and sane. The soul invades Pomni's body for a moment and asks Kinger how his wife is, which is important, and Kinger gets the soul out of Pomni's body. Pomni begins sobbing, and so Kinger apologizes to her and explains he's usually not good with memories, but that being surrounded by darkness always brings him back to a certain time, right after his wife abstracted, and that he doesn't recall the exact string of events, but they both ended up in the fort together. It was dark, and the darkness calmed her down a bit. She didn't seem aggravated anymore. She wasn't the same as before, but she was calm enough to touch one last time, before she got sent to the cellar. Kinger says he knows how it can feel in the circus, that sometimes it all feels pointless, and is empathizing with Pomni.
I know how it can feel in this circus. Sometimes it all just feels pointless.
Yeah.
But it's not. Not if you have people who care about you. Good memories can do a lot. Hold on to them. And cherish the people around you.
This eventually eases Pomni a bit, enough for them to figure out a way to escape. And they do. Only when they get back to the circus, Kinger can't remember what actually happened. Pomni then thanks Ragatha for always being concerned about her, and that she feels like she hasn't been appreciative enough about that, and Ragatha accepts this. And that is the end of the third episode. We begin the fourth episode with Ragatha attempting to teach Gangle how to throw a softball, with Jax being the batter. And when Gangle throws the softball towards Jax, he hits it and ends up breaking Gangle's mask, and Ragatha yells at him. I have to say, I don't know why, but I found this scene so funny in the moment when I first watched it, even though it's really stupid, and also an example of Jax just being terrible to Gangle, which unfortunately there are many scenes like that, but it was just really funny to me.
I actually didn't mean to do that.
Zubul also tells Gangle she found something she might like, which is a new mask for her, since her mask is always breaking easily. It's a lot like Gangle's original mask, only it's a different, more optimistic expression. Zubul asks how it feels. Gangle says it feels normal and smiles, one of the very few times we see Gangle actually smile. Everyone begins chiming in, and Kane interrupts their banter to throw another adventure onto them. Today's adventure is the Curse of the Violent Psychopath Butcher. Kane says scary human meat is all over the walls, but before he can finish, Pomni interrupts to ask if they can chill with the horror. Kane says if they are going to be critics that they should suggest the adventure. Zubul says they do and asks if he checks the suggestion box. Kane says he forgot they had that. Kane then opens the suggestion box and reads different ones off until they agree. And they agree on working at a fast food place, and Kane makes Gangle the shift manager. Gangle says she might be able to give it a swing, and that being a shift manager was her job at one point, and they are sent off to the adventure. All except for Kinger, who offers to stay behind on this one instead of Zubul, since she tried once again to ditch the adventure. The fast food restaurant they are running is called Spudsy's, and Gangle has no trouble getting into instant manager mode and delegating tasks to everyone. An NPC comes up and tries to order a stupid burger, and says last time they ordered it, they forgot to add the sauce that makes you stupid. Ragatha goes to make the burger and squirts the sauce and gets some of it in her eye. Everything starts to distort around her until it goes pitch black, and then in front of her she sees Gangle, who turns around and has the face of a monster. And spoiler alert, Ragatha basically gets drunk or high off this stupid sauce, which leaves her pretty incapacitated throughout the rest of the episode. Zubul is actually working, and Jax is mostly slacking to no one's surprise.
Oh no! It looks like I've taken Ragatha and dropped her in the deep fryer.
And Pomni is working the register. And as she is working the register, Gummy Goo shows up to order. Pomni is clearly thrown off and tries to talk to Gummy Goo, but he doesn't seem to recognize her. The Glowing Queen shows up to order 300 cheeseburgers for her precious spawn. As Pomni is taking the orders, she notices Gummy Goo and his friends leaving, and asks the Queen to hold on for 1 second as she goes out to him. Pomni wishes Gummy Goo a pleasant day and thanks him for eating there. And it's very clear Pomni wants more from this conversation, but she can't get it because Gummy Goo genuinely does not remember her or their adventure. And it's honestly very sad. And at this point, Ragatha is not doing too well. She's slurring her words, and for the first time, she's actually talking back and having an attitude with the others, instead of being her normally toxically positive and optimistic self.
Cool, that's 6 out of 300.
Ugh, you are such a grouch. Why are you always being a grunch? You know, a team works much better when we're all giving it 110% instead of, 5.
No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask.
Can you move?
Yo, Jax, I, hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?
Gangle is also starting to be worn down a bit too. Nobody is listening to her or respecting her authority, and we're getting a bit of a glimpse into what Gangle's life could have been like on the outside when she was a manager at a fast food chain for real. Jax looks at the clock and it hasn't moved. He tells Gangle he thinks the clock is broken, and Gangle responds saying that we are the broken ones. How long has this shift really gone on for? Does time even move? Will we ever get home? Will we ever achieve our dreams? Nighttime eventually comes, and Gangle sneaks outside to rip off her happy mask and begins crying and screaming. Pomni was already outside taking the trash, so she witnessed the whole thing, and asks if she's okay, and the two have a long talk before Gangle puts the happy mask back on, saying they can't waste time talking about their feelings because they have work to do. And that's that. And once the shift is over, Pomni offers to stay and help close so that Gangle can go home. And once Gangle is outside, looking at the sky, she throws away her happy mask. Dramatic upbeat music plays as she runs off. She runs under a streetlight and accidentally throws herself in front of a truck. She gets hit and then ends up back in the office. It's Kane's office where she is receiving a performance review. And this event is actually very important and will become significant later on in the series. Gangle later on vents to Zubul about how she feels like she messes everything up and doesn't think anyone wants to talk to her anymore, and Zubul reassures her that she still enjoys talking to her, and says it's okay that the new mask was a bust, and that she's sure they'll find something that works eventually, and that's how episode 4 ends. We begin episode 5 with the members all coming back from an adventure, where they all got very wet. Kane calls everyone over to pitch some future adventure ideas, and is asking for their honest opinions on them. And after pitching multiple awful ideas, Zubul suggests they leave their adventures open and let them do whatever they want when they want. Kane then suggests they do a lightning round, going through all the suggestions in the suggestion box in rapid succession, and if they don't like one, they can all vote to skip it. They go through a few different adventures, including Poacher's Paradise, President Pomni, where Pomni is the president, Starring in a Slice of Life anime, and Stargazing.
There's nothing wrong with your suggestion.
How did you know this was my suggestion?
Can you believe this, Pomni? First she draws anime, now she drags us all into one. She must be one of them, losers.
You threw me out of a moving truck.
And the Stargazing one is actually interesting. Jax asked Pomni if she thinks Gangle is actually capable of being happy, saying her comedy mask still breaks every day, and if she thinks hanging out with Zubul is going to magically fix that. Ragatha chimes in and says maybe she doesn't want to hang out with someone who's mean to her all the time, and Pomni asks Jax if he has any real friends. Ragatha says not anymore. Jax turns around and is visibly upset. Ragatha apologizes and says she wasn't talking about that, and is clearly struggling to find the right words. We don't know the significance of this yet, and why it was so triggering for Jax, but this is foreshadowing for what we will learn later on.
Doesn't she get on your nerves sometimes?
I mean, she's nice to everyone.
I don't know. I think she tries way too hard. Like, we're stuck in... Why are you always pretending everything's always fine? Like, if you tell someone they're loved and appreciated every day, it kind of loses all meaning. It just feels like she's trying to take advantage of you, you know?
Kane is watching from above and says they look happy and it's a bad thing. He says they are enjoying the suggestion box adventures more than his adventures. When asking what he should do, Bubble says he should die and then says throw a beach party. Kane then transitions to an intermission. And we then transition to a bar scene with all the members. It's in a vintage noir black and white style, and we learn a lot from this particular scene. Zubul is the bartender, and Pomni mentions that she, Zubul, knows her way around alcohol. Zubul says it was one of her suggestions and that she worked at a bar briefly before she came to the circus. Pomni also reveals that she is 25 years old and was an accountant for a supermarket chain before she arrived. When Jax asked how she ended up here, Pomni says she would sometimes get bored of things and seek out mild thrills, like exploring abandoned buildings and posting videos of it online. She was a YouTuber, but says nobody watched her videos. It was something she did just for herself. Zubul asks Jax what's his story, and Jax starts describing the plot of Breaking Bad. But don't worry, we'll find out more about Jack's backstory eventually. Gangle says she worked in fast food, was in community college for graphic design, dropped out, and didn't pursue art much after that, and Zubul then reveals that she was a tattoo artist for a couple of years. Ragatha then tells her story, saying she was born into a fairly wealthy family and had a large property with horses and chickens. But her mother was a lot, and hints at there being a very verbally and emotionally abusive dynamic at the very least. Ragatha worked in real estate for a bit until she ended up there, and says she's sure her mom doesn't miss her and that she doesn't miss the yelling, the berating, and the guilt tripping, and then closes by saying she was just a farm girl.
Well, my mother was a lot. I worked in real estate for a bit until I ended up here. I'm sure she doesn't miss me. I certainly don't miss the yelling, and the berating, and guilt tripping, and yeah, just kind of a farm girl.
Zubul puts corn next to Jax, and he gets scared. Apparently, he is afraid of corn. Kane says he is bored and transports them to a new adventure. This one being a softball game where they are all competing against the evil versions of themselves. Except the evil version of Jax is actually just really nice and shy, and Jax says he wants to kill him. All the members also vote to put Jax in a maid costume as well. Ragatha eventually gets frustrated with herself, and Pomni tells Ragatha that there's nothing wrong with her showing her negative emotions sometimes, and that we all need to be a jerk sometimes. Gangle goes to bat and Jax makes a mean joke. Ragatha tells him to stop forcing Pomni to be like him, and he replies that I should force her to be happy all the time instead, an obvious sarcastic jab at Ragatha's toxic positivity. Ragatha says it's better than turning her into an insensitive jerk who deflects everything and says Jax fucks everything up for everyone else. Ragatha then apologizes to Pomni and Jax. Only for Jax, she apologizes for bringing up that thing earlier and walks away.
Would you stop trying to force her to act like you?
Oh yeah, I should force her to be happy all the time instead, right?
Well, it's better than turning her into some insensitive jerk who deflects everything.
I can think for myself, guys.
Hey, I ain't forcing anything on you.
And then you just act like you never do anything wrong and everybody loves you, when in reality you just fuck everything up for everyone else.
Okay, let's, calm down a bit.
What? You're the one who said it's fine to be a jerk sometime.
Gangle hit a home run while Ragatha and them were away, and Kane rigs the game and the regular members win. And they all go back to the digital circus, and Jax tells Pomni he can show her that thing in the hall he was talking about. And they walk off and Ragatha watches. There is also an NPC watching for some reason, as ominous music plays. And then the episode ends. In episode 6, we are told that today's adventure is brought to you by the Favorite Character Awards, and someone will claim the ultimate prize. Gangle is also once again attempting to hide from Kane, saying she heard Bubble and him talking about an in-house adventure, and Jax rats her out to Kane. We find out that today's adventure is going to be a team adventure, and that it will be a short one due to the Favorite Character Awards. Kane points out that there is tension between the members, and says what they need to do is trust exercises, and he whips up a magic room where no one can see or hear you once inside, and then also whips up a loaded gun. And Kane comes up with this elaborate game of trust involving the guns in the empty room. But no one is down for this idea, and instead the members all get guns and separate in teams of 2 with the goal of shooting each other until one team is left standing and wins, and they all get 3 lives. Kane leaves to plan the award show, and they get 5 minutes to assemble teams. Pomni asks Ragatha to be on her team, but Ragatha says she doesn't want to leave Kinger with Jax. Pomni says she can be with Kinger and says how last time they were together it wasn't too bad. This leaves Ragatha with Jax, and she is clearly not happy about it, so Pomni volunteers to be on Jax's team. Gangle gives her comedy mask to Zooble to keep safe so she can wave a Tommy gun around and laugh maniacally without breaking it. The game begins, but Ragatha only has 2 lives. Kane says the guns have all been teleported to random spots in the circus and to go find them. Kinger and Ragatha find a gun, and Ragatha is bummed about missing a life. Kinger makes one for her by making her a butterfly, which can restore health. When Ragatha asks Kinger if Kane mentioned that, Kinger reveals he made it up, and this is more subtle foreshadowing. Jax and Ragatha also find a gun, and Jax pressures her into becoming an evil version of herself and letting loose, saying she needs to figure out what her archetype is in this dynamic. Jax says he does everything he does because it's funny, because he's the funny one, that being his archetype. Ragatha is the cheerful one, Gangle is the sad one, Kinger is the crazy one, Zooble's the grumpy one, and Pomni is the one that hasn't figured it out yet. Jax asks Pomni who she wants to be, and says there's no better time than now to start something new, so Pomni decides that today she is going to be evil.
What the heck? Today, I'm just gonna be evil. How's that?
Go for it.
Yeah, those other fools better watch their tails, because they're going to face the wrath of Pomni the Evil!
It's kinda cringe.
I'm going to speed run a little bit through some of this. Basically, Jax ends up shooting Ragatha out, and she is the first to go. Zooble and Gangle also bond a bit during this game, and it's clear the 2 of them are becoming very close.
Do you think Jax is gonna be mad that I didn't team up with him?
I wouldn't worry about him right now. It's all just a game in the end.
It's Jax, though. He probably wants revenge, and he's gonna make it painful.
Hey, you deserve better than thinking about him when he's not even here. You're a human. You're not his toy.
We also find out more about the corn thing with Jax. It turns out his fear of corn stems from his trypophobia, which is an aversion or strong discomfort towards clusters of small holes or repetitive patterns, often causing feelings of disgust rather than fear. Jax and Pomni also find Kinger, and they all start shooting at each other in the dark, and eventually Kinger is shot out and ends up with Ragatha in the loser corner. It's there that Ragatha opens up to Kinger about what's bothering her, saying she thinks she might have failed Pomni, just like she failed Jax, saying she tried too hard to be on their good side and ended up pushing them away, and then they end up hating her. Kinger points out that she spends so much time trying to be there for everyone, and when she's not, she beats herself up for it, and says we all go through and deal with things differently, and sometimes you just need to let people do things their own way, as long as you're there when they need you, and giving people space isn't the same as giving up on them.
Always ways to show you care without ruining yourself over it. You need to look out for yourself in all this, too.
I don't get it. So often nothing you say makes any sense, but then you have these moments where you... I don't know. How do you do that? How have you been around for so long?
I guess I just have a resilient mind.
They then notice Bubble holding a video camera towards them, and Bubble calls their interaction breathtaking and says the committee's going to love it. Pomni and Jax are now fighting against Zubul and Gangle, and after a long time of fighting, Jax and Pomni end up winning the game. And this is when a really intense interaction happens between Jax and Pomni, because Jax suggests that Pomni kill him so she can be the winner, but Pomni says she wants to be winners as a team, and Jax tells her that they are not a team. Pomni asks if she did something wrong, and Jax tells her she's acting like Ragatha. He then tells Pomni to shoot him, and she asks if they'll still be friends afterwards, and that's when he says that they were never friends. Pomni asks what about all the stuff he told her, and then gets upset and says you're not going to pretend that nothing they did together meant anything, because she knows that's not true. And after a heated back and forth about Jax not coming to Kaufmo's funeral, Jax declares that he does not care about her or anyone else in the circus, and Jax claims he likes to make them all suffer for fun, and that if he led Pomni on, it was just to make this part hurt her more, and that there's nothing more to him, so please stop looking.
Stop! What's wrong with you?
Why didn't you fight back?
Oh, here we go. Because I didn't fight back, that means I secretly care about you? I'm just a misunderstood little chicken fetus in an egg that needs to be cracked open. Well, I am not. I do not care about you or anyone else in this circus in the slightest. End of story. You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer. I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
It's a really upsetting scene, and at this point we are now at the award show, where Jax has isolated himself from everyone else. At one point, Jax runs to the bathroom where we can see he's having what appears to be a panic attack, and Kane gives the favorite character award to himself before realizing he misread the paper, and the favorite character award goes to an NPC named Ming, and that's where the episode ends. In episode 7, they haven't started their adventure yet as Kane is nowhere to be found today. Kane left a note saying he decided to go to the store to get essential ingredients for his signature milk and cigarette casserole, but is back by the time they finish reading the note. Kane doesn't have an adventure for them and says he will consult the Chinese room in order to give them all ideas on what they should do instead of an adventure. Bubbles suggests that they all throw a beach party at the digital lake that exists that they never visit. So that's what they do. It's there that Pomni meets an NPC who will become very important. Jax is choosing to isolate himself and goes back to his room where he is staring at Polaroids in the wall. In these Polaroids, we see Jax, Kaufmo, and another character we haven't met. He then starts looking at a triangle-shaped hole in the wall, and hands come out of it. The hands are reaching for Jax, and Jax reaches his hand back. When their hands touch, Jax is transported to some kind of trippy world. Either that or he is hallucinating, and he does that for several minutes before his doorbell rings and snaps him out of it. It's Pomni, Ragatha, and the NPC who want to talk to Jax. It turns out he's not an NPC, he's a human. The NPC states he thinks he found a way to leave the circus and get back to the real world, but they don't want Kane to find out. They came to Jax because they thought he might have a key to the Chinese room, a place for them to talk without Kane listening in on them. Jax is skeptical to trust the NPC, and says we can't be sure that he's human, but goes with them anyway. Now all of the members are together except for Kinger, and they sort through all of the keys to figure out which one works, only to find that the door was unlocked the entire time. As they all go into the room, Pomni goes to get Kinger, but the NPC tells her that they can get him later, and that he doesn't really know if he's ready to face Kinger again after what happened. This is when we begin to learn that Kinger is a bit more involved in all of this than he's led on.
How much do you know about Kinger?
Huh? Oh, I probably know about as much as everybody else, but he's also helped me through some of my hardest times here. Is it weird to say I trust him the most out of everybody?
No, that's not weird at all. I had a similar experience, and I think he might know more about this place than he lets on.
Yeah, he has been here longer than anyone else. I don't know, I think it's kind of strange that Abel isn't interested in him at all.
Like I said, things between us are complicated.
Once they are in the room, the NPC states that he is one of the original programmers of the Digital Circus, and that he was part of a team of experts employed by CNA to bring the Digital Circus to life. Kinger was one of his coworkers, and as production went on, the higher-ups at CNA started getting untrustworthy. They began forcibly hooking up his coworkers to the computer in special stasis pods that would keep them alive to analyze their brains. Jax questions how they could have all gotten hooked up to a machine just by putting on a headset, and that none of them are CNA employees. The NPC states he wondered that as well, but then he remembered that CNA was planning on expanding development. And last he remembers, he was asking too many questions, and then poof, he was here at the circus. And we find out his name is Abel. This is where we also learn that Kane is an AI, created specifically to keep their minds active, but that he's just as much of a prisoner as the rest of them, one that won't be able to leave with them. Abel comes up with a plan for them to escape, which involves the members having to isolate Kane and distract him in order to get a key. Ragatha asked what's going to happen to the people in the basement who have abstracted, like Kaufmo and Ribbit, and Abel says he doesn't know, but they'll hope for the best. This is the first we hear of Ribbit, who will become very important very soon. Eventually, Jax is able to get the key from Kane and make it back to the others, but before they venture off, they all decide to get Kinger and give him a heads up on what's going on. They all get administrator's passes, and they end up going through a portal that leads to a red and blue door that is Kane's office. But Abel doesn't come with them. Pomni asks him how he is getting up, where he reveals he isn't, but that he trusts them all to make the right choice. They all go inside Kane's office, and Ragatha goes to the bookshelf where Abel stated the main console was behind, and uses her administrator's pass. The door opens to a long hallway that they all go down. Jax is panting. It looks similar to the panic attack he was having earlier at the awards show. They open the door at the end of the hallway. It's a dark room. They press a button which lights up a blue screen saying the red button will close the console and keep all the players inside the circus, and the blue button will end the game and disconnect all the players. And before they go to press the button, Pomni hesitates, saying there might be something they don't know, and maybe they should give it a little bit more time. They all begin arguing, and as this is happening, Jax starts hyperventilating and gets so overwhelmed that he ends up pressing the red button, the one that keeps them all trapped in the circus.
What did you just do?
Ragatha asks him what did he just do, and before he can answer, a door opens, and celebratory music plays. Kane pops out and yells, "Congratulations, they picked the good ending," where they realize they'd rather stay with him than go back to the old world. Kane reveals this was all an adventure, one he has been cooking up for a good long while. Abel then pops out, and Kane congratulates him on playing his part, and then deletes him. Jax starts laughing maniacally once he realizes he was right, and Kane leaves as he starts to see the members getting more and more angry, and leaves them with a soap basket as a gift, and that's how the episode ends. Episode 8 opens to a black screen with grids and a glowing red ball in the center. We see different photographs clashing on screen, and then the red ball starts emitting floating shapes. This goes on for a bit until we see a blue ball. The red ball eventually swallows or consumes the blue ball until it's just the red ball. The red ball begins emitting larger shapes which form some kind of enclosure around the red ball, the circus. Because what we are looking at is the story of Cain and Abel and how they came to be. It's silent and it doesn't state it outright, but it's clear. Now we are back at the circus, only with entirely different members other than Kane, who are talking, but we the viewer cannot hear what is being said, and we zoom out to see the Kinger watching them all talk. Then someone comes to sit next to Kinger. It's Queenie, his wife, asking how he is holding up. Kinger says he doesn't know what's happening, and they never made anything like this, and they both say in unison, "I just hope that," and then they both stop and turn to each other, realizing they know each other, but they cannot remember each other's names. Kinger says he's so sorry he roped her into this with him, and tells her that no matter what happens, he'll always, and then it cuts to a scene of her abstracting, and Kane banishing her to the cellar.
I wish I could remember your name.
Same.
I'm so sorry I roped you into this with me.
It's quite strange, isn't it?
Listen, no matter what happens, I'll always...
And into the cellar you go!
Kane says they are running out of humans to Kinger and tells Kinger not to go abstracting on him too. Kinger is sadly walking around as sad music plays, and then Ragatha suddenly appears, very confused. This is the scene where Ragatha comes to the circus for the first time, and Kinger reassures her that everything is going to be okay. And then it cuts back to modern day, where Pomni is talking to Ragatha, and all of the members are sitting around, very depressed. Drax goes to tell them I told you so, and before he can finish, Zubul cuts him off and tells him to shut up.
Well, really hate to say it, guys, but I told
Don't you even! Do not even f***ing begin to say that sentence like you didn't try to keep us all trapped here forever.
Anything could happen when you press those buttons. It doesn't matter.
It seemed to matter back when you did it. What if you did ruin our one chance at leaving?
What if Abel was secretly evil? What if we all got stranded in the void? What if? It wasn't real. So it doesn't matter.
Zubul argues with Jax that he could have gotten them all stuck there forever, and begins asking what-if questions, to which Jax tells her it doesn't matter since he was right. Gangle chimes in and agrees with the Jax that it doesn't matter what could have happened, and arguing won't help anyone, and that what they need to do now is just be there for each other. Pomni agrees, saying they've all done bad things, but they're all they got, and that they need to abandon the idea of leaving. She also says she doesn't know what happened with Kaufmo, but that they can't let that despair consume them, and they should focus on what they have, and what they need to do now is just live. Zubul sighs and says she had dreams and goals. She wanted to be able to leave her mark somewhere in the world. And how is she supposed to abandon all of that? Gangle tells Zubul she made a mark in her life, and Zubul begins to cry and hugs Gangle.
Liv.
Oh man, I had dreams and goals. I wanted to be able to leave my mark somewhere in the world. How am I supposed to just abandon that?
You've made a mark in my life.
Ragatha says that they're all in this together, and Pomni follows that they'll always be in this together. And as Drax starts to walk away, Zubul tells him that that includes him too, and they're not going to let him wander off alone somewhere and go abstracting or something, and that he's a pain in the ass, but he's still one of them. Jax brushes it off, asking if they really think he's capable of abstracting, and says they worry too much. We then transition to Kane's office, where he is having a conversation with Bubble about the members, complaining that the members don't appreciate him or what he does, and that he's starting to get the feeling that the members just hate him. Bubble begins to antagonize Kane, telling him how awful he is, until Kane starts getting angry, saying who do they think they are, the members, that he gives them everything, and they just spit in his face. Kane is glitching out, saying they won't leave him, that he won't let them, that he's better, more powerful, that he is the original, and that he is God. And everything goes dark, and we see Kane under a spotlight.
Who do they think they are? I give them everything, and they spit in my face! Don't they know what I'm capable of? Humans! They only think about themselves. They're spoiled! They won't abstract. They won't leave me. I won't let them! I'm better! I'm more powerful! I'm the original! I am God!
We then go back to the circus, which starts to glitch for a moment. Kane then arrives and tries to get them to go on an adventure, and they all begin arguing with him, saying they are not going on an adventure, that they need time to process everything and they want him to answer their questions. Kane then snaps his fingers, saying, "Maybe I'm not getting through to you," and everything goes dark. And Kane performs a song where he sings about how he is God, and they need to remember who's running the show.
Wiki is the only place you're ever gonna be. So step on in and take it on the chin, and don't forget who's running the show.
After Kane finishes, he says, "I think we all understand each other now," and leaves and opens a portal for a new adventure. They go on the adventure, we don't see it, and they come back several days later according to the text on screen. Kane tells Kinger he needs him for something and then leaves with him, and the rest of the members state that they can't take these adventures anymore and that they need to do something. Kane brings Kinger back and says he needs to brainstorm some new ideas and leaves. Kinger is also shredded for some reason, saying Kane did it. Pommy suggests they all get out of the open for a bit and transitions to a dining area, and suddenly puts a bucket over Kinger's head. And when the members ask what she's doing, she tells them to give it a second and just trust her. A long time passes, and Kinger finally talks as his other self that Pomni recognizes. The members realize that the bucket, or darkness, makes Kinger sane. Pomni asks Kinger what he knows about Kane, and he says it's hazy, but he remembers CNA, saying it's a real company he worked for, saying they were developing artificial intelligence, specifically creative AI. He says Kane was one of their first attempts at that, and was one of Kinger's greatest achievements as a programmer. He also says he got some pointers from a person whose circus name was Scratch, and that he was a real genius, but that his ideas were often so bizarre and abstract that the rest of the team had no idea how to work in his language, either due to pure brilliance or the tumor in his head, and that he was trying to make something. Jack suddenly gets up to leave, saying he should go distract Kane so he doesn't listen in on them. And Pomni hesitates, and Jack sternly says he'll be back later, to which Pomni sternly replies to be back later. We then see Jax trying to catch his breath, saying, "Oh my god, this is real." Kinger says they all have the ability to conjure just like Kane, but that it requires a lot more skill and concentration for them, and figures out a plan how to shut Kane down, but would just need access to a console, and Pomni mentions the one behind Kane's office, but Kinger says a simple computer interface would work. Zubul asked where they would get one, and Pomni says she thinks she knows exactly where, and tells the other members to take turns distracting Kane with Jax, and don't let the bucket come off of Kinger's head. Pomni makes her way to the main area of the circus and closes her eyes to concentrate, and when she opens them, she finds the exit door she saw in the beginning of the show, and goes inside. Pomni is running through the exit doors until she gets to a room with a computer and takes it and leaves. Pomni meets Kinger to give him the computer. He turns on the computer and sees a CNA prompt, and Kinger tells Pomni to help the others distract Kane while he figures this out. All of the members are distracting Kane, and he starts to get suspicious, and asks where Kinger is. But before he leaves to go check up on him, Pomni and the other members begin to antagonize him, which makes Kane so enraged that he then transports them all to their own versions of a nightmare, each member having a separate terrifying experience.
I'm gonna put you freaks in your place!
Meanwhile, we see Kinger is still at work, and he is almost finished, but he accidentally messes up and deletes Kane. Then the entire circus around them starts to fall apart. Kinger comes back to the members to tell them that he thinks he accidentally killed Kane. And that is the end of the episode.
I think I accidentally killed Kane.
Holy shit.
The finale is an hour long, and a lot happens, so I'm going to speedrun through this as best as I can. In the finale, we get the original opening from the first episode. We then go back to where we left off last episode, where Kinger explains what happened. And Jax begins getting upset, saying Kinger messed up in the worst way he possibly could. And are they just supposed to forgive this? Kinger then says Scratch was trying to make a brain scanner, and that he didn't think it would actually work, and that they didn't know how to work the files, and they were impossibly small, given what they were supposed to be. And he saw a folder full of them while he was in Kane's code, and that he must have found a way to get them working. All of them, the members, are copies of real people. The members begin to realize that they're never getting out, and they are shattered by this, and they all start to break down. The other members begin to leave, and Pomni follows Kinger to a hole in the floor, and Kinger starts telling Pomni how out of all the people he's seen come through this place, she adjusted the quickest, and it ends up being a similar conversation to when they were in the Mildenhall Manor together.
You know, out of all the people I've seen enter this place, I don't think any one of them adjusted as quickly as you did.
I was a nervous wreck.
So was I. It's a lot for anybody to go through. But while the others took weeks, hell, even months to get used to everything, myself included, you found your footing in a matter of days. And not just that, you've also become someone they can trust, even if they don't seem receptive.
Jax at one point tries to approach Pomni, but he then sighs and says, "Never mind," and walks away. We then hear a voiceover from Pomni saying, "I wish I pried a little more," as Jax is walking away from her. And then, we immediately cut to Jax, who is now abstracted and is running around the circus.
Never mind.
I wish I'd pried a little more. I somehow forgot how bad it can get.
Zubul gets angry, saying of course he would do this when he knows there's nothing they could do about it, that it's just so like him, but it's clear she's more sad than angry. Ragatha begins to tell Pomni that she thought it should have been her, and says there was a time where her and Jax were friends, and that they could talk to each other, but then something happened between him and her being Ribbit, who we saw before in a previous episode in one of the photographs Jax had. After Ribbit was gone, Ragatha tried to comfort Jax, but Jax made her promise to never mention Ribbit's name again, and that's when their friendship finally ended, and she wonders if things would have been different if she said no.
Ribbit. Her name was Ribbit.
Yeah, I think I remember you mentioning her before.
I wasn't supposed to. After Ribbit was gone, I tried to comfort him. He told me to never mention Ribbit's name again. He made me promise. And I did. I think that's where our friendship really, finally ended. I wonder if things would have been different if I'd said no.
Pomni then lures Jax to the area with their rooms and uses a gun to shoot all the lights so that it's completely dark. And she throws herself at Jax and sort of invades his mind. And we see those hallucinations we saw earlier when Jax isolated himself during the beach episode, revealing what it looks like internally when someone abstracts. In doing this, Pomni encounters a few different doors, all with their own scenarios that reveal how Jax believes he was perceived by the other members. In one of them where Ragatha has abstracted, Jax actually strangles Pomni.
What? We can't die from oxygen deprivation, remember?
In another one, Gangle abstracts, and Zubul blames Jax for this and lashes out at him.
Matt?
Wearing what? Oh, this! I figured what better way to honor Zubul's spirit than by wearing something all gender freaky, right?
You're just doing it to make fun of them.
Isn't that what you're doing?
I hate you.
What? Don't act like you don't like it, sweet cheek. Meet me in my room after the funeral. It's gotta be late.
In another one, we're in a room with 4 different Jaxes, one of them playing the piano, and he is chained to the piano. Pomni asks if that's how he really thinks of them, and says it's not reality, and asks where the real Jax is. The Jax at the piano then gives Pomni a key to the real Jax, and this is where we finally learn everything. We see things from Jax's point of view, where he was especially close with Kaufmo and Ribbit, and was also close with Ragatha. We see many scenes of them all hanging out together and having fun, playing games, drinking hot chocolate. We see Jax and Ribbit becoming especially close, and then we cut to a scene where Ribbit and Jax are alone in his room. They then begin talking about things they've done that they regret. Ribbit reveals she cut ties with her devout Mormon parents when she moved out because she herself wasn't Mormon, and regrets this. Jax then opens up about his relationship with his parents. They divorced when Jax just started high school, and that he was never close with his dad and always felt like he was a disappointment to him. He got along better with his mom, but she changed after his dad left, and would often lash out at him. When he showed weakness, he was less of a man than him, but when Jax lashed out, he was just as bad as him. This was all very confusing for Jax. One day, Jax became fed up with this and said something to his mom that he regrets, something deep and personal. And though it's not been said explicitly, it has been confirmed that what Jax was talking about was that he is transgender. Gooseworx herself confirmed this following the series finale, and even released official artworks of Jax presented as more feminine. There are other clues and hints throughout the show and episode as well. It's also been stated that because Jax remains closeted throughout the majority of the show, both male and female pronouns are acceptable to use. I'm gonna keep using male pronouns just for the purpose of consistency. After he told his mother began laughing at him, saying personal degrading insults, but at the end his mom hugged him. He was so startled that he shoved his mom away, and she fell backwards and didn't get up.
I told her something I regret telling her. Something deep and personal that I thought would get her off my back. But she laughed at me. Then she went off on me, and it didn't stop. Personal, degrading insults that felt like it went on forever. And despite all that, the thing that bothered me most was, at the end of all of it, she hugged me. I didn't know what to do. So I panicked, and I pushed her off me with all the force I could. She fell backwards. And she didn't get up.
Thinking that he killed his mom, he ran away and became homeless. But to this day, he's not actually sure if he killed her or not. Ribbit reassures him that if the police never came, that I'm sure your mom was fine, and says Jax's secret is safe with her. At this moment, the doorbell rings, and it's Kaufmo looking for Jax. Jax jumps up and tells Ribbit if she ever tells anyone about their conversation, that he'll never speak to her again, and kicks her out of his room. After this, Jax starts to give Ribbit the cold shoulder. He insists the story he told Ribbit was a lie, and he stops hanging out with her. He stops teaming up with her on adventures and completely shuts her out. This eventually leads to a fight between them both, and not too long after this, Ribbit abstracts. We see a scene where Kaufmo is trying to comfort Jax, but he just brushes him off. We see Gangle come along, and at one point we see Kaufmo trying to tell Jax that he thinks he found a way out, and Jax dismisses him as being crazy. And then we see the pilot, Kaufmo abstracting, and Pomni joining the circus.
Huh? What?
How about we call her Gangle? That sounds about as pathetic as she looks.
What?
Great choice, Gangle. I'll be sure to add that right into the system.
Out of the way, Rags.
Jax, look, I know we don't get along, but I think I might have found a way out of here.
Have fun being crazy.
And I should just play along until I wake up, right?
Whatever you say, kid. You never know until it's too late.
We then finally see Pomni meet the real Jax, saying she didn't know he could play piano. In a heartbreaking scene, Pomni hugs him, saying he should have talked to her, and Jax cries, saying she's making this so much harder. Jax says he doesn't want to go, and Pomni says, "Stay with me," and the two of them merge. Then the song Isn't She Lovely plays as we see multiple scenes of Jax in front of us, and Zubul rips Pomni from Jax before she can fully merge, and we see all the other members, and Kinger says, "You weren't going to try and take care of Jax all by yourself, were you? I'm glad we weren't too late." The members all make a tent for Jax and lure him into it, saying it should keep him calm and that the darkness is soothing to them. We then transition to Kane in the Void, who is grappling with the fact that he's been deleted, but he begins to see how he was wrong. Kane eventually goes back to the circus where he meets the members. He says he understands that they're afraid, and that they have no reason to trust him, but he's been thinking, and wants to give them control over the circus. He then shows them something he made for them. It's a film that reveals the identities of each of the members, and what they are doing. Pomni, aka Abigail Brooks, is still an accountant, but she seems to have opened up more and is hanging out with friends more often. She even has some of them in her videos with her, which she still posts on occasion. Ragatha, aka Susie J. Ackerman, seems to have left her hometown, cut all communication with her mother, and has excelled in her career. She's made many friends, and it looks like she has a strong, genuine connection with them. She seems happy, like she understands who she is, and that she matters to people. Gangle, aka Zoe Raghaven. Despite her injuries from getting hit by a truck, she's made a good recovery in the hospital. She quit her fast food job and has gotten a new job at a small design firm. She even began posting pages of her webcomic online. Zubel, aka Riley Versailles. After hopping around with different jobs, they look like they've settled a bit and opened their own bar. It seems to be a successful one. People all over the city come to it as a hip alternative destination where they can feel like themselves, free of judgment. Kinger, aka Grant Best. He's still working in tech and is happily married to his wife, Destiny. They appear to have 2 daughters together. He looks like he's a good dad. Jax, aka Leroy Mateo. After being unhoused for a few months, he was able to room with one of his close friends. He seems to have gotten a stable job and is paying rent. He and his friends go out every now and again. Weirdly enough, a spot they seem to frequent is Riley's bar. Kane tells them that he doesn't have quite the power that he used to, but that he can still make the circus better for them. He's going to keep worlds open so that they can do what they want whenever they feel like it. Kane asks, "What do you say, Abigail?" And Pomni says, "Abby is out there living her best life, but in here, she is just Pomni." The members remain in the circus, and at the very end, following the credits, we see a scene in the real world of all of the members at the bus stop together, waiting to board the bus, and none of them realize or recognize each other. And that's how the series ends. Okay, so now let's discuss the positive things and the many criticisms of the Amazing Digital Circus and why there is such intense discourse surrounding this series online. So first, what do people like about the Amazing Digital Circus? Well, number one, they love the visuals. The bright and colorful 3D animation style gives very nostalgic vibes of retro 90s and early 2000s games. And this doesn't just apply to the setting, but also the character designs. People love the fun designs of the characters. It's not typical by any means, but it works, especially for the circus setting. And the animation got significantly better as the show went on. When you compare the first episode to the last episode, it really demonstrates how much the show improved visually over time. It's some of the best animation ever from an indie studio. And also, people love it conceptually. It's a very unique concept, and its themes of existential dread, isolation, struggling with identity, hope, and more make it very relatable and interesting to viewers. People also really enjoyed the characters, most of the characters, I should say, with each character having a specific archetype and trope, as well as relatable backstories. People also really love the humor and playfulness contrasted with the much heavier, darker themes. There's nothing better than media with slice-of-life elements balanced with drama, horror, and psychological twists and turns. It's the best of both worlds. And additionally, people also love that it's an indie project, and that it's incredibly accessible. Even though it's now streaming on Netflix, the series initially aired on YouTube, and to this day you can watch the full series for free on YouTube. It's also censored, which makes it accessible to younger audiences as well as older ones, so it can be enjoyed by people of all ages. Okay, now let's discuss some of the many criticisms of the series. Firstly, I just want to state that not all of these criticisms are my own. I'm simply relaying the points I've seen be made against the show for the purpose of objectivity. Truthfully, I personally enjoyed the Amazing Digital Circus. I wouldn't say I absolutely loved it, but I would definitely say I liked it. I found it entertaining. I liked most of the characters. I think it has good themes, and there's a lot I enjoyed about the series, regardless of whether or not there are valid criticisms against it. The first thing, and the thing I see being complained the most about when it comes to the Amazing Digital Circus, is the fact that it's cringe. Both the series and the humor and the fandom itself. From Ragatha's toxic positivity to Zubal's constant pessimism to Jax's chronic douchebaggery, some people just find it incredibly annoying or cringe or frustrating. The series also attracts a very young audience very quickly, and people find the fandom itself to be really cringe for that reason as well. And the fandom has its own problems aside from being cringe, allegedly, which I'll talk about soon. Some of the jokes were also deemed cringy by some, like the one Gangle says in episode 4 about, "This is a manic episode and you're getting 4 more seasons." Things like that people just found really cringy.
Why would you do this?
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons!
The other main criticism I see is that people disagree with the finale and the show in general, mostly centering around Jax. People wanted more of the other characters and thought they were going to get more from them, and were unpleasantly surprised that Jax became the main focus by the end. Some people also felt like the show was trying way too hard to make viewers sympathize with Jax, even though he spends the majority of the show being absolutely awful to everyone. In fact, people hate Jax. Understandably so. I don't think we're supposed to like him, even though there are times where we're meant to sympathize with him. There's whole videos on this platform about how much people hate Jax specifically and why. People wanted more of Gangle, for instance, who spends the majority of the show being picked on by Jax, and learning to like herself for who she is and not just being a toy for Jax to bully and discard, as she spends the vast majority of the show just being a punching bag for Jax. It would have been nice to have at least one scene where she finally confronts Jax and stands up to him for how he treated her throughout the entire show. It could have given viewers a lot of closure and given Gangle closure as well. Ragatha also is bullied quite a bit by Jax. In fact, in episode 5, she nearly abstracts after being treated so horribly by him. And the one time she really breaks down and shows her negative side after being told by Pomni that sometimes you need to be a jerk, she is condemned for it.
Oh look, Gangle's up to bat. How do you think this is gonna go?
Would you stop trying to force her to act like you?
Oh yeah, I should force her to be happy all the time instead, right?
Well, it's better than turning her into some insensitive jerk who deflects everything.
I can think for myself, guys.
Hey, I ain't forcing anything on you.
And then you just act like you never do anything wrong and everybody loves you, when in reality you just fuck everything up for everyone else.
Okay, let's, calm down a bit.
What? You're the one who said it's fine to be a jerk sometime.
And of course, his treatment of Pomni was absolutely terrible. Jax is generally very unlikable, and he enjoys being that way. He went into a whole Homelander-style monologue about it.
I do not care about you or anyone else in this circus in the slightest. End of story. You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer. I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
So the fact that he became the main focus of the show by the end really frustrated viewers. And it's not necessarily that people were mad that Jax got so much screen time, but more so that he did and the other characters didn't get nearly as much. They also didn't like how Jax's trans identity wasn't outright stated in the show, which left viewers confused and wondering until Gooseworx finally came out and said he was trans. It stated that there were many hints throughout the show, such as Jax's reaction to the maid costume, the bow Ribbit places on Jax, the song Isn't She Lovely playing during the scenes with Jax in the finale, but even with all these supposed clues, it wasn't obvious to viewers. I watched more than one video from other creators making this point, stating even with the supposed signs, they weren't able to figure it out without it being confirmed after the fact. And some fans even debate whether Jax actually is trans, but that's a whole separate conversation and certainly not my place. And another criticism is that the show is male-centered. People think the show focused way too heavily on the male characters and left a lot to be desired when it came to the female characters. We don't get the same focus on Ragatha, for instance, who really only gets the bar scene to tell her backstory despite it being incredibly heavy, and kind of similar to Jax in the sense that she comes from a background of abuse at the hands of her mother. Jax gets a whole scene in the finale to explain his abuse, and Ragatha gets a few lines in the 5th episode alongside other characters. The same could be said for Zubal. We get the therapy scene in the 2nd episode, which gives us a little bit of insight into her as a person and how she views herself, but other than that, the most we learn about her is also in the bar scene. And a lot of the scenes of the female characters talking, like with Pomni and Ragatha and Gangle and Zubul, the vast majority of those conversations center around the male characters.
Do you think Jax is gonna be mad that I didn't team up with him?
I wouldn't worry about him right now. It's all just a game in the end.
It's Jax, though. He probably wants revenge, and he's gonna make it painful.
Hey, you deserve better than thinking about him when he's not even here. You're a human. You're not his toy.
Even Kinger got more screen time and background than some of the female characters. There are multiple episodes where we learn more about Kinger starting from episode 3 and on. Even Gummy Goo, the NPC, got more background than some of the female characters. It does read to some as very male-centered. Another complaint I saw was that people felt like by the end of the show, Pomni just became everyone's therapist. Like, more often than not, we see scenes of her trying to comfort the other characters. We see it with Ragatha in the 5th episode. We see it with Gangle in the 4th episode. It happens multiple times with Jax. Even Kinger in the 3rd episode. Hell, she even did it for Gummy Goo in the 2nd episode.
Why are you trying to cheer me up? How does this benefit you at all?
I guess I just don't want you to feel like you're nothing. I don't want anybody to feel like that.
But I'm not even a real person. Would I even belong?
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me. And I could use a friend.
A friend?
Despite her being so young and so new to everything and still trying to adjust to her new circumstances in the circus, there are many instances where she is forced to play the therapist for the other characters. Some people also feel like the show is repetitive, that it recycles the same themes and messages for each episode and even until the very end. Like that they all need to stick together and lean on each other. Some people have complained that it was redundant and overdone. Another complaint actually stems from outside the show and is directed at Gooseworx specifically, and that involves her constantly having to confirm things outside of the show on other social media platforms, which some people have argued could suggest bad storytelling if you're often having to address or clarify things because it wasn't made clear in the source material. And then there's the criticism of the fanbase itself. Aside from being deemed as cringe by some, the series has a very strong fanbase, which can be both a pro and a con. They are very devoted to the show, and do not take criticism well. There have been a lot of allegations of harassment from the fans towards those who dare to criticize the show or Gooseworx herself, to the point of people literally leaving the internet. And speaking of criticism of Gooseworx, there's also controversies that don't involve the series itself, but the voice actors and Gooseworx. This stuff is incredibly lengthy. There's a lot to it. I'm not going to go in depth here, but I'm going to link a video in the description with my sources that goes pretty in depth about everything, but for the purpose of brevity, I'm going to speed run this a bit. Basically, to start, two of the voice actors, Michael and Ashley, got in some controversy when a clip from a stream surfaced because one of them read out a username that closely resembled the N-word, and joked about the fact that it sounded like the N-word and it sounded racist. And then there was another time later on in the stream where someone wrote the word on a black t-shirt, and everyone in the stream started laughing heavily, and at times even repeated the word in place of the N-word.
Sure, nigga. We notice you. Always gonna be scared to say the word nigga ever again. God damn it! Keep it alive! Okay, not. Oh my god!
They also then go on to repeat the word in instances where it's clearly meant to be a substitute for the N-word.
Oh, this matchup is so good! Thank you,
So long, nigga.
Nigga versus it was so good.
There are defenses of this, saying that it's meant to be a shortened version of the word negative, but others argue that that's just plausible deniability, and these members did end up apologizing for this. There's also controversy with Kinger's voice actor, Sean Chiplock, having made quite a few jokes about being a pedophile, which people found kind of weird. And then there's the controversy with Gooseworx herself and her past tweets. Many tweets surfaced from years ago of Gooseworx making jokes about incest, being a Nazi, and being racist. The response is very divided. Some argue that they were just edgy jokes and it was a long time ago. Others argue that she said it multiple times and the timing doesn't matter. Regardless, it was a situation that brought even more controversy to Gooseworx and the series. I'm literally speedrunning through it because there are entire videos dedicated to just these controversies. I'm just delivering the information in order to be objective. I'm sure more than one person will have something to say about this in the comments, and I look forward to reading those comments. So that pretty much sums up the main criticisms I have seen in online discourse. With the show being as massively successful as it is, there is bound to be criticism and detractors. It's just inevitable. And I don't think because there is so much criticism that means that it must be bad or terrible. I think if anything, it demonstrates how worthwhile the show is that there's so much discourse around it. For it to be talked about this heavily means it did something right. And overall, I'm glad I took your guys' suggestions and gave the show a chance in order to make this video. I don't regret watching it, I'm glad I watched it, and for the most part I found it enjoyable. And if asked if I would recommend the show, I would say yes. If you're someone who likes indie animation, psychological themes, and dark comedy, I absolutely would recommend you watch this show. And with that, that is going to conclude our examination of the Amazing Digital Circus. I hope you all really enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. This video took a lot more work than some of my other videos on this channel, but like I said, I don't regret it. This one was highly requested, and I really look forward to all of the comments. So with that, thank you all so much for listening. Please take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video.